Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern. We're gonna go live with Hannah. There she is. I'm gonna bring her on in a second for our core talk today. So today's core talk is about community. And one of the things that we have experienced during this pandemic is a separation from real community of live humans in the same time and space, not community on Facebook where there's posts randomly and people are kind of one-sided conversing. They're not even really conversing with each other. And our community is a live Pilates community. Everybody is working out next to each other. We see each other on the Zoom screen. We know that we're with other people in the same time. And even though we don't fully get to converse with each other, the teachers, there's sort of a one-way conversation and it can be back and forth. We know that there's other people in the room, if you will. And we know we have that support. I have one of my clients, she's been working with a group that we started many years ago, and Sarah's here. And even though we didn't really talk every week, my client said that group for her, just coming together, this is even pre-pandemic, that group for her felt so stabilizing, and she knew that those girls, she felt very connected to these girls. And then we'd meet in person once a year and it was like a coming home. So this online experience truly can bring you together in community. And I know for me, this has been such a nourishing thing for me. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Hannah. Hannah is a college student, and she'll tell you how we met, and it's really amazing to have her in our community. She's a dedicated member, and she's come in through the pandemic. So let me see if I can bring Hannah on. Hannah, let's see. Okay, hold on one second. All right, I'll request Hannah, and she'll be on in a second. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing, girl?
Grinding out the schoolwork, but I'm good.
You're grinding at the school. So where are you right now?
I am at Millikin University in Decatur, Illinois.
Okay, Decatur, Illinois. And where are you from again? Where's home for you?
Birmingham, Michigan, which is kind of outside of Detroit.
Okay. So I'm so happy that you're here, Hannah. Tell us what you're studying in school too, so we know what's going on there.
I'm a BFA musical theater major. So for those who might not be familiar with what that means, it's like singing, acting, and dancing all rolled into one.
I love that. And are you doing that in person in Millikin right now? Yeah.
I am. I have a few hybrid classes, but for the most part, like my dance classes and singing and acting classes are all masked and in person.
Okay, masked and in person. So Pilates for you as a dancer and a performer came into your life. So tell everybody how you found MyBOD. I mean, I love the story, but go ahead.
So basically what happened was we went online and it was such a strange thing. So my ballet professor, a friend of Denise's, Angie Miller, suggested that we hold sort of an online ballet Pilates class for all the dancers. And I was just like, yes. I was taken aback because I've always loved fitness, but it's never been that complimentary of my dancing. So when I took this class, I was just like, wow, I need more of this, especially in quarantine where I feel like I'm losing all my technique. Like this is a very concrete and fulfilling way that I can improve that. So I was hooked.
That's so awesome. Yes, I know when I sent out the email to the students in the class, you responded right away. And I was so happy that you wanted to start. I think another thing you said to me, because you started taking with me, so I offered a class, and then you started taking with Diane as well. And I loved your perspective about knowing, and I'm very impressed with this because what year are you again in college?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore. So in your freshman year, you were already aware that learning from different, studying the same thing, but learning from different perspectives was going to help you as a dancer and help you in your career. And I'm just like so impressed with what you've brought to the table, your commitment to your personal work, because this extends it. And like you said, I love that about Pilates being complementary to the dancing. I had a similar experience. I used to go to the gym like 2 hours a day, and then I found Pilates as a dancer, and it was like, oh, no, that's a waste of time. Like, this is gonna bring it. But one of the things over this pandemic time, I know you have been in, so on Zoom, you're in a different room. Sometimes I've seen you, I guess, in Michigan. I've seen you in other spaces. I remember at one point you were actually in your home and you were quarantining from your family. Like, you had to quarantine from your mother or your family. And I know that this time, especially for college kids, where your lives are your friends, you know, so I just want to hear how the experience in the pandemic has been for you. You were at Millikin, then you had to go home, and then did you go somewhere else? There were a lot of places. I just want to hear your experience with the pandemic and being separated from your community.
Yeah, I mean, me in particular, I've been very serious about COVID. Like, I don't want to like say more than my peers, but I'm a really anxious person. So it's always been important to me that I'm really following the rules strictly. So it can be kind of isolating on campus when somebody asks you to hang out and I decline because I want to make sure I'm not quarantining going to in-person classes.
Right.
So it's been hard for me to make like mature decisions. And alongside that, I have a long distance boyfriend who didn't return to campus this semester because he's going online and I'm in person, which has been hard too and super isolating. So when you see me switching around, that's like I visited him a few times, quarantining when I got home from visiting him because my mom's immune compromised. So it's been a lot of like picking and choosing and quarantining, and yeah. It's been isolating for sure.
It's a lot. And that for college kids, my stepson, he was supposed to graduate, you know, he didn't get a graduation. You all had to pull out of school, and then it went into summer. So it's not even like you could live around each other. You were all basically going home and having to quarantine at home. So that must be really challenging as a college student, because this is especially as a freshman, this is like, you get to go out and be in the world and be an adult. And then you have to like, nope, go. It's like the game Sorry. You're going all the way back to the beginning. You have to go be with mom and dad. So all of that. I wanted to ask you, you know, in terms of our community, I love seeing you every week. You're a big part of our community. And what has the community, the MyBOD community, how has that helped you during this? And how is that, you know, how has it nourished you?
Mm-hmm. So having a routine is very near and dear to my heart. And I think that's just grounding in itself, like regardless of others, just like having a routine. Like I know every Monday at 11 Central Time, I'm seeing Denise, I'm seeing the girls. It's a great time. And it's like, even though we're on mute and we're not talking, I feel like I have a relationship with you and a lot of the people in the class. Like, you're telling me corrections, and at this point I can hear them in my head like all the time. So like, you're always with me on my shoulder, and you'll give somebody else a correction and I go, oh wow, like I know her, she doesn't typically struggle with that, so I should probably check that out too. Or I'll pin Annette's video and I'll be like, oh well, she's doing that variation, well I better step it up too. So it's kind of like a fun little competition, and we all have a relationship because we're all going through something together. Like we all have this shared experience of you being on the warpath one day and giving us these incredibly hard variations. So it's just kind of fun.
That's funny. You haven't even taken the advanced class yet, girl. You got to come into that. You will love that if you want those variations. I love that. When I take my Pilates class, it's the same thing, because in our situation, we're on Zoom. For those of you who don't know how we do it, we're on Zoom, so you see the other class members, and then you can get inspiration even if it's not connecting in conversation. You're connecting through movement, and like you said, I'll bounce around and see other people in the class that I take and be very inspired. And and just know, I just, it allows you to travel, right, to a certain extent into another world too, which is also, I think, a nice element right now, as we can't really travel, right? So that's the other place, right? So you're not only are you in Decatur, but you're in New York City, and you're in New Jersey, and you're in California, if Sally's, like, you're in all of these places, right? So tell me, you joined our Core Elevate program, which was more of a conversational program. We had our core talks, which were group circles. And how was that for you, connecting with the women in that group and being able to really share and talk about stuff?
Well, I loved Core Elevate, and it kind of happened right at the perfect time. Like, I was really going through it. Like, I think you probably remember the first Zoom we all had talking together. I just started like sobbing, and I was like, I cannot believe I am sobbing in front of all of these women. But I was met with such acceptance and understanding, and it was really powerful, and I could hear all their perspectives. And even though we have very different lived experiences, like many people were talking about their children and their husbands, which I don't have, like the same like underlying issues about being human and finding a centered self, like that still resonated with me, because we were all people. And we had a Facebook group too, so I could read other people's posts and like see how their week is going, and then they could respond to mine. And it was just like a lovely little support net, and it encourages you to push yourself harder, because you see your peers really putting forth that effort to be mindful, and it makes me want to be mindful. So
Right.
It was great.
Yes, that accountability piece, just by knowing someone else's, like you said, engaging in mindful, or being mindful, engaging in mindfulness, which reminds you to do it, and yeah, it gives you a reason to do it, right? It's, I think, one of the most challenging aspects, of course, of the pandemic is the mental health piece that comes from not truly being with others. We need that. It is a nutrient. And and I would say, especially for women, I'm sure it is for men too, but I know personally, like, I need that engagement, and I'm sure you do. So it's interesting how you say, even though you had different lived experiences, I wanted to ask you about that as well, because you are the youngest member of our community at this point. And like you said, I would say the majority of the women in our community, and there are men too, but not in the group classes, but the majority of the women are, yes, have children, or they're in that stage of their life. So how has that felt for you as well? Is there anything about that you want to share?
I mean, I have children. Like I have my assignments that I pour my heart into that feel like they attack me. I have to sit at a piano and practice, like, and that's not having a child, but like that child isn't going to grow if I'm not responsible for it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of accountability and responsibility that comes with being a student. Mm-hmm. So even though they can talk about their various things, like I'm not driving anybody to karate. I'm not doing that, but I am giving a lot of myself all the time to various different things. Mm-hmm. So I really relate when they speak about struggling with being in 10 places at once. Like, I completely get that.
Right. Well, I think that was clear too on that first call, the first core talk that we had, and when you were open about how stressed you were feeling. When you get a little older, you forget that being younger is actually hard too. Like, I will say, I appreciate hearing about your struggles, and as somebody who has children and is fully living that responsibility lifestyle, it's very easy to think of you young people like, oh, it's so easy, because it was like, you look back and you're like, that was so much easier. But I don't know what it's like to be where you are in this time frame too, with everything that's going on. You have so many things pulling at you in various directions. And like you said, that even though we have different shared life experiences, we can come together on similar things. And this is one of the things I think if I can bring to the world in this moment is, the connection regardless of, right? I don't know what your, I don't know what your lifestyle is. I know that I connect with you on this level. I know that we can connect through movement. We all are struggling. We all know what it means to be human and to be vulnerable and to have a hard time. And so coming together in this way is, I think, necessary, again, because the isolation can keep us as other. You can keep thinking of other as more other, and you can put them in a category, which I think is a little dangerous for all of us. And so I appreciate having, like, you in the community. You are younger and you could be considered other, right? Like, oh, she's young, she's just having so much fun, her life's so easy. And no, when we actually spend that time together, we understand more, and we can connect more. So I love that. And Hannah, let me see, anything else that you want to add that we didn't cover about, let's see, what would be the, I don't know, the, like, what the top takeaway from this pandemic, doing this work, what you have grown, what has been, like, kind of the number one thing for you?
Oof, I mean, just in terms, like, Pilates sort of like happened, it happened during quarantine. So I kind of, the two have associated each other together. So self-care is something that's on everybody's minds. And I think a lot of people, like, view it as an extra thing, like not like a priority. But the truth is, like, self-care should be mandatory. And in order to give of yourself, you need to give to yourself, and you need to recharge your batteries. And Pilates has been that for me. Like, if all else fails, if I'm having a terrible day, I can come to a Pilates class and I'll leave and I'll feel accomplished. I'll feel aligned. The colors will be brighter. Like, it's just better. Like, I literally scheduled my spring semester around a Pilates class. Like, I'm taking all 8 a.m. classes every day of the week just to make Pilates work, because it's such a meaningful and necessary part of my life and how I function. So just, like, self-care is mandatory. Pilates is great self-care if you're like me and you like goals, goal setting, accomplishment, dynamic stretching, all that. Like, if that's your jam, definitely Pilates is for you.
Yes. And then I would just add to that you rearrange your schedule. Even though the classes are recorded, you could do them at a different time, but you wanted to be there in time with everybody, right? And that, I know, for me, is, you talked about the sort of competition aspect and the motivation that we get from being in the group at the same time, which I agree, for me, I have to have that to do it, and to feel that connection, and to realize all those things that you were talking about, the self-care piece, that part of the accountability. I love that. It's so great talking with you, Hannah. Thank you so much for coming on. And this will be on my IGTV, can be shared with anybody. And I just am so grateful for you and our community. You know, the pandemic is not a positive thing, but it has brought some amazing things into my life, and you are one of them. So thank you so much, my dear. Oh,
thank you.
And I will see you Monday.
See you Monday. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.